Bonjour les élèves, bonjour français 2. Aujourd'hui, nous allons étudier la leçon 3, partie B. We will learn les expressions avec faire, the expressions with the verb faire, to do, and the inversion, asking questions using the inversion. I will start by sharing my screen. Voilà. Les expressions avec faire. So you see, as you see in my background, some emojis, pictures that express the use of the verb faire, to do. Here it's, je fais les courses, I'm doing grocery shopping. Je fais la cuisine, je fais un sandwich, I'm making a sandwich. Je fais une promenade. I'm using the verb faire again. Je fais une promenade, I'm taking a walk. And here, je fais les devoirs, je fais de la lecture, je fais les devoirs, to do your homework. So here are the learning targets for this, the first learning target for this lesson. I understand and can use expressions that use the verb faire to communicate about activities one is engaged in. As usual, s'il vous plaît, start by filling out your lesson notes and pausing and repeating to practice the pronunciation at the same time, s'il vous plaît. Expression avec faire, review the forms of the verb faire, to do. So to conjugate the verb faire, we conjugate it with je like this, je fais, tu fais, il, elle, on fait. I do, you do, he, she, it, do, does. Nous faisons. Here there's an exception. I always tell you that the AI or AI combination is pronounced like e, except for faire, for the faisons form, for nous and vous, it's pronounced as an e. Faisons. It's not faisons, it's faisons. Nous faisons. Vous faites. So it's just for faisons, nous faisons, vous faites, il et elle font. OK? Répétez. Je fais, tu fais, il fait, nous faisons, vous faites, ils font. Now, we have some sentences that use faire here. Je fais un sandwich. I'm making a sandwich. Tu fais les devoirs. Or tes devoirs, you are doing your homework. Elle, il, on fait une promenade. He, she, it does takes a stroll or goes on a walk. Nous faisons attention. We pay attention. Vous faites un voyage. You all go on a trip. Il, and elle font la vaisselle. They are doing the dishes. Faire is one of the most commonly used verbs in French. Its basic meaning is to do, to make. Qu'est-ce que tu fais? Qu'est-ce que tu fais? What are you doing? Maintenant, we're gonna examine how we use the expressions avec faire. Voilà. How to talk about activities one is engaged in using the expressions with faire. So we say faire du plus school subject, it means to study. Okay, so faire du plus school subject means to study. Par exemple, nous faisons, of course you have to conjugate this faire. Nous faisons de l'anglais. So you can use de in its different forms, like faire du, faire de la, or faire des. How do we decide if we're using du, de la, or des? It depends if the school subject or the sport or pastime are feminine, masculine, or plural. If the activity you do is masculine, you say faire du. Faire du sport, for instance, because we say le sport. Faire de la should precede an activity or a noun that is feminine. For instance, il fait de la photo. And then faire des is when the activity is plural. Here we see that nous faisons de l'anglais. We have des deux L apostrophe. It's because anglais starts with a vowel. So we can't use du or de le anglais. Okay, we say de l'anglais, de L apostrophe. Mes amis font du roller. My friends do roller skating. Du roller. So, font du, because roller is masculine, meaning de le. D'accord. In negative sentence, all of these, faire du, faire de le, de la, please follow my cursor, and faire des, faire du, de la, des, which are here, even de, el apostrophe, all become de or des apostrophe. So, in the negative sentences, the form of du, de la, and des is actually simplified. They all turn back to de, like so. Vous faites de la gymnastique aujourd'hui. Are you doing gymnastics today? So first of all, gymnastique is feminine. So we say de la, we choose this form, de la gymnastique. And to answer in the negative form, we said that du, de la, des, and de L apostrophe turn to de, like so. Non, nous ne faisons pas de gymnastique. So, ne and pas are placed around the conjugated verb faisons, and then de la turns to de. Non, nous ne faisons pas de gymnastique. So think about it this way. Whenever you have pas, it should be preceded by de, always. D'accord? Of course, you can rewind and replay to really let it sink in. Et on continue. We use faire to talk about many common activities, like faire attention, to pay attention, to be careful. Example, fais attention. This is a command form, right? It's not the present tense. Fais attention means you pay attention. But we drop the subject. Faire, c'est devoir, to do one's homework. Tu fais tes devoirs, you are doing your homework. Faire une promenade is another expression that uses faire, to go for a walk or for a ride. Je fais une promenade. Faire de la cuisine means to cook or to do the cooking. Nous faisons la cuisine. Voilà, ici dans cette photo, j'ai fait la cuisine. J'ai fait un sandwich. Nous faisons la cuisine. Faire la vaisselle, to do the dishes. Qui fait la vaisselle? Who is doing the dishes or who will do the dishes? Faire les courses is another expression with faire. Les courses, and here it was la vaisselle, right? Faire les courses, to do the shopping or the food shopping. Papa fait les courses. D'accord? Now, who knows an expression in French that uses faire? Do you remember the weather expression from French one? They use faire. Example, il fait beau. It makes pretty. Or it's nice outside. The weather is nice. Il fait beau. It's an expression with faire. Okay, on this slide, we look at other known expressions with faire, like faire un match, to play a game. Faire un match, faire un voyage, to go on a trip. Faire un pique-nique, to do a picnic. Faire des achats, to buy things or errands. Voila, with some pictures to express what we just said. Now, faire could mean to do or to make. So this is a little review. Je fais, tu fais, il fait. SST, nous faisons, vous faites, ils font. Qu'est-ce qu'on fait means what are you doing or what are we doing? Qu'est-ce qu'on fait? This is a question that I would like you to memorize. Qu'est-ce qu'on fait? Qu'est-ce que tu fais? Qu'est-ce que vous faites? What are you doing? What are we doing? Voila. So how to talk about activities we're engaged in? We said faire plus school subject. I want to read this example, these two examples. Faire, nous faisons du français. We study French. So we do some French. This is a literal translation, and it means we study French. Julie fait de la gymnastique. Literally, Julie does some gymnastics, or Julie does gymnastics. D'accord? So school subject, faire plus du, de la, or des plus school subject, or plus sport or pastime. Faire attention. Here we go. Fais attention, Pierre. Faire ses devoirs. Je fais mes devoirs chaque soir, each evening. Faire une promenade. Est-ce que vous faites une promenade avec le chien? Faire la cuisine. Ma famille aime faire la cuisine ensemble. My family likes to do the cooking or to cook together. Faire la vaisselle, to do the dishes. Mon frère ne fait pas la vaisselle, ce n'est pas juste. My brother never does or doesn't do the dishes. That's not fair, ce n'est pas juste. Faire les courses, to go grocery shopping. Ma mère a besoin, do we remember a besoin de, to need, a besoin de faire les courses ce soir. My mom needs to do the groceries this evening. This is the first slide here. This lesson is divided, this video is divided in 2 slides. Let me move along to the second slide, which is related to the inversion, how to ask a question using the inversion. Inversion, voilà, tada, inversion. Les questions avec inversion, leçon 3C. Here's the learning target. I know how to use the inversion to ask a question. Okay, there are several ways of asking questions in French, and you know, some of them, most of them, I believe, when the subject of the sentence is a pronoun, questions can be formed by inversion or by inverting, that is, reversing the order of the subject and the verb. Compare the 2 ways of asking the same question. So, okay, so we're gonna start with the intonation, just using the inflection of the voice or your tone of voice, and with inversion, which is our learning target for this lesson. Tu as un vélo? This is a question with intonation. Tu as un vélo? Only you hear my voice inflection rise, right? Tu as un vélo? There's nothing to indicate that it's a question except the question mark. But with the inversion, we do something special. It's where we find the subject, tu, the pronoun. Follow my cursor, please. And a, tu as, the verb. And we invert this. And it turns very formal. As-tu un vélo? As-tu un vélo? So for the first, on the left, we use intonation. On the right, we use inversion. Another question to ask, another sentence to see how we do the inversion is, vous êtes français? Vous êtes français? So here we have only the question mark and the inflection of your voice versus with the inversion, êtes-vous français? Êtes hyphen vous français. Don't forget to add the hyphen, of course. Elle vend des ordinateurs. Does she sell computers? So we locate the subject, pronoun, and the verb, and we invert them. Vend, hyphen, elle vend-elle des ordinateurs? Ils habitent à Québec. So again, locate the pronoun, subject pronoun, and the verb, and invert them. Habite, hyphen, til à Québec. See, very simple. Now, yes, no questions can be formed with inversion according to the following pattern. Verb plus subject pronoun plus rest of the sentence, like so. Parlez, vous, français. So this is a yes or no question because it requires you to answer with yes or no. Parlez-vous means, do you speak French? Do you speak French? Voyons, oh, pardon. So we have the verb, the subject pronoun, and the rest of the sentence, which is français, okay? In inverted questions, the verb and the subject pronouns are joined with a hyphen. In inverted questions, the sound T is pronounced between the verb and the subject. Pronouns il, elle, il, and the plural, elle in the plural, and on. And we will look at an example related to this. Note that if the il, elle, and on form of the verb ends in a vowel, the letter T is inserted between the verb and the pronoun, like so. Il a un job, il a un job. I'm sorry, this is a statement. Il a un job. So let's turn it into a question using the inverted form. Locate the subject pronoun, it's il, and then locate the verb a and invert them. A and then il. But since il starts with a vowel and a is a vowel, we have to insert a t here in the middle with 2 hyphens, a-t-il. By the way, I'm gonna go back to the previous slide and show you how I pronounce the t for these questions. Vont-elles? So here I did the liaison. Instead of saying vont-elles, I said vont-elles, because this is how we do the liaison with the d. Habite-t-il? Habite-t-il? I do have to pronounce. I can't say habite-il. I have to say habite-t-il. So now, what if the verb doesn't end with a t? In that case, we add one, like we did here. A-t-il un bon job? Elle travaille. So we have elle, the subject pronoun, and the verb that we will invert. Travaille, oh, so we have 2 e's here, e for travail and e for the beginning of elle. So we have to insert the t. Travaille-t-elle beaucoup? D'accord. Of course, review as needed, rewind and replay as needed. Information questions are formed with inversion according to the pattern. Interrogative expression, as the ones we reviewed in the previous video, like où, or quand, or comment, or qui, or avec qui, or and so forth. All these are interrogative expressions. So so here it's not a yes or no question. It's an information question where you are required to give information, not just answer with yes or no. So we start with interrogative expression plus verb plus subject pronoun plus the rest of the sentence, like this. Interrogative expression, où, plus verb, habite, plus hyphen, of course, plus subject pronoun, tu, plus rest of the sentence where it applies. Où habites-tu? Where do you live? Or where live you? Where do you live? Quand travaille-t-il? Quand travaille-t-il? So here again, we have when does he work? We have interrogative expression, verb, and subject pronoun, and then the rest of the sentence. Avec qui? With whom? Avec qui dînez-vous? So you start with interrogative expression, avec qui, and then the inverted form of the verb and subject, and then rest of the sentence. Avec qui dînez-vous? Ce soir, who are you eating with this evening? Pourquoi sont-ils en retard? Why are they late? So pourquoi, expression, interrogative expression. Sont-ils, are they? En retard, late. So with the inverted verb and subject and rest of the sentence. So yes or no questions can be formed in 4 different ways. I'm going to show you on one slide. Tu aimes les hamburgers? So this is just the intonation, right? Tu aimes les hamburgers is a statement. When we add the question form and use the intonation, it's intonation question. Or we can add est-ce que plus sentence. Est-ce que tu aimes les hamburgers? Est-ce que, and then we'll add the rest. Tu aimes les hamburgers? Do you like hamburgers? Or we use inversion. What do we start with when we use inversion? The verb and then the subject. Verbs hyphen subject plus the rest of the sentence. Aimes-tu les hamburgers? Now there's sentence plus n'est-ce pas. It's another thing. Tu aimes les hamburgers, n'est-ce pas? Tu aimes les hamburgers, n'est-ce pas? You like hamburgers, don't you? Isn't it so? Something like that. D'accord? So look at the different forms. Tu aimes les hamburgers? Est-ce que tu aimes les hamburgers? Aimes-tu les hamburgers? Or tu aimes les hamburgers, n'est-ce pas? Again, here is how we do the inversion. We flip the subject of the verb, and you can only invert with the subject pronouns. That, right? So with subject pronouns, not with subjects or with first names, right? If we say the boy eats, le garçon mange, we can't say mange le garçon. We have to use only inversion with subject pronouns like je, tu, il, elle, on, nous, vous, il, elle. These are the only words that go to the right of the hyphen. Exemple, Eric et toi, aimez-vous, vous aimez nager? So here we invert aimer and vous. Nathalie est mignonne. We can't say Nathalie mignonne for inversion. We say est-elle mignonne? So we replace Nathalie with elle. Est-elle mignonne? And notice that I did the liaison with tel. The French are weird about some vowels touching, right? So to keep vowels from touching when using subjects that begin with vowels and verbs that end with vowel, insert a little t. This only happens with il, elle, and on. D'accord? Exemple, il aime nager. Aime-t-il nager? Elle regarde la télé. Regarde-t-elle la télé? Don't insert little t unless vowels touch. Il fait les devoirs. Fait-il les devoirs? So notice here there is no vowels. There are no vowels, so we don't use the t, the little t. Here are some interrogative adverbs. So we're still talking about question forms or interrogative forms. Here are some adverbs. Combien? How much or how many? Comment? How? Où? Where? Pourquoi? Why? Quand? When? À quelle heure? At what time? These adverbs may be used with est-ce que or with inversion. Voilà. So follow the pattern to form information questions. Question word plus est-ce que plus rest of the sentence, or question word plus inversion plus rest of the sentence. Exemple. À quelle heure est-ce que tu arrives à l'école? À quelle heure arrives-tu à l'école? So we start with the question form, question expression, and then either est-ce que or inversion. At what time do you arrive at school? Où est-ce qu'elles vont? Where are they going? So here we use est-ce que, where are they going? Here, this is how we turn it into inversion. We keep où at the beginning and we use vont-elles with invert elle and vont. D'accord, everyone. Here is the end of leçon 3, pardon, partie 2. Merci de votre attention. Faites les devoirs et écoutez la vidéo plusieurs fois. Répétez pour mieux comprendre. Merci beaucoup et au revoir.